We've got quite a long meeting with 3 presentations this evening, so started early, maybe accommodate that a little bit more easily. So welcome everybody to the Design Advisory Panel meeting for March 27th. And just a reminder to everybody that we live stream this meeting and video record it for the public. And we've had an agenda. Any additions to the agenda from panel members? No, seeing none. Somebody would like to motion to accept the agenda as presented? Jonathan, go ahead, a seconder, Marta, and we'll all in favor. Hector, I'm going to need your picture there so I can see.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say I'm on favor.
Okay, in favor, thank you. Okay. And we have some minutes tonight to approve for our March 13th meeting. Any additions or changes to those minutes? Okay, seeing none, a motion to approve the minutes as presented. Jonathan, thank you. I'm not really seeing anybody here. Seconder.
Oh, can you second? Okay. Yeah.
Marta, thank you. And all in favor? Hector, if you're in favor.
Favor. Yeah, favor.
Thank you. Great. Okay, let's move on to our presentation. Our first presentation this evening is for a property on Cranberry Avenue, and Caleb Horn, city planner, will introduce it for us. Go ahead, Caleb.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. The first item on tonight's agenda is development permit number 1359, and this is for a property at 1435 Cranberry Avenue. The property is zoned CS1 Community Service, and the proposal is for a 6-story family housing building with 42 dwelling units. There are 3 variances requested. They are requesting to increase the building height from 14 meters to 20.1 meters, requesting flanking side yard setback variances to reduce the flanking side yard from 6 meters to 5 meters on the north property line, and from 6 meters to 1.5 meters on the south property line. Lastly, they're requesting a height variance for the fence, and that is from 1.2 meters from 1.2 and 1.8 meters to 2.45 meters. And I will turn it over to the applicant to give their presentation. Thank you.
Great. And who will be presenting this evening?
I'm Maris MacDonald from MacDonald Hegarty Architects. I'll be presenting the PDF tonight. Maybe we'll just do a round of introductions of who from the team is here. I'll pass it over to Joan to introduce herself from the nation.
Yeah,
Right,
go ahead.
so,
Thanks.
Antapako Komowat Tiditsa Nasanemo. I currently serve our community. My name is Joan Brown. Currently serve the community CAO. Aichka.
Andrew, can I pass it over to you next?
Hello, Andrew Sutherland here with Sanemoch. I serve Sanemoch as Communications and Special Projects Manager.
Selena?
Hello, I'm Selena Hyung with Macola Development Services. We are here on behalf of Sanemoch First Nation just to help through this process.
And Bianca?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Bianca Bodley. I'm here with my company's Biophilia Design Collective, and we are honored to be doing the landscape design for this project.
Okay, I'll share our presentation here. Can everybody see it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think we'll start with Joan. We'll let you introduce the project from Sanemu.
Thank you, Maris. And once again, thank you everyone for joining this sacred circle. We're really honored and humbled to say what we're presenting tonight is a reflection of Sanemu, deeper understanding, a way of being, hoping that what we present and provide to our family members who are going to reside in the sacred site, a new way of being with each other and especially with the land. And we're really so appreciative of the opportunity to share the teachings with you and hopefully bring that deeper understanding, and thanking you for bringing your gifts and your understanding to this sacred conversation. Heitzapka.
Thanks, Joan. We're going to present this project from a landscape perspective first. With the nation, the land always walks first. And so we'll be doing that in this presentation. So Bianca will be taking the first portion.
Thank you, Maris. So to begin, as we speak of the landscape, we'd like to acknowledge the guiding intention for this landscape design is led by the Snuneymuxw approach to land and development, acknowledging that the land works first. In order to create a home for people in which they feel safe and connected to the land, we must first understand the teachings of the land works first, that the trees and plants are members of our family, that they hold wisdom and healing that is always ready to be given. We must first restore and give love to the land before we consider development, as in this healing and connection begins with and continues with the land. When we're outside and surrounded by nature and connected with it, we feel safe and a sense of awe and beauty, and that's what we want to create in this project. When we feel safe and grounded, we're able to begin a journey of healing and learning from the land and with the land. Next slide, please. In the photo overview, you'll notice that the site at this time is an undeveloped green site and home to many indigenous plants and trees. It's also connected to a creek and wetland area. Prior to this area being developed, the site was once one of the first villages of the Snuneymuxw peoples, and the creek was a thriving fishing river. The project provides a beautiful opportunity for this land to once again be home, to be restored with indigenous plant families that will provide for the inhabitants to once again live and thrive connected to the land. To the north, you will note the Nanaimo Fire Station number 4, and the Wexford Creek is to the west, and the land gently falls towards it. There are also a series of roadways flanking the site, which we'll be addressing from a privacy and safety perspective later. Next slide. From a design overview, you will notice that as you enter the property to the north, there's a double gate for security. There's a secondary gate at the opposite end of the parking lot to allow for ease of traffic flow through. The garbage and recycling is located on the boulevard for ease of pickup and to maximize the space of the parking area. The building is oriented in such a way that it creates a buffer for the landscape, which I see as open arms holding the landscape and protecting it. It also serves to allow for maximizing natural light enjoyed in the garden space as it's south-facing. There's a 2-meter grade change from the floor height of the main level to the property line at the south and west, which informed how we developed the landscape design. We gradually transitioned from the building down to the property line, which provided a beautiful opportunity for tiered areas that are both physically and visually connected, but also have their own unique programming. Next slide, please. Starting at the main level floor elevation, as you enter the garden, you will notice circular raised planters, which will be used to grow food and also be objects of beauty in the garden. In order to ensure the amenity spaces are accessible regardless of age and ability, there is a ramp that connects from the top level to the lower level, as well as stairs to provide different options to travel between the spaces, and the stairs will also provide opportunities for seating at each level. Next slide, please. The middle tier will serve as a social gathering space where residents can eat and harvest plants from the garden. The table can be used for food preparation or simply just a place to spend time with one another, share a meal, a story, a conversation. Next slide, please. At the lowest level of the landscape, this incorporates a covered sheltered area that will look over the creek beyond to be a quiet contemplative space that will also serve as a smoking shelter. And we ensure that this sheltered space also has a direct line of sight to the children's play area adjacent. An important part of the landscape design is focused on restoring water to the creek and giving back to it. The stormwater from site will be highlighted and celebrated as it travels from the building towards the creek. We're working with an artist chosen by the nation to create moments of beauty and inspiration throughout the site to tell the story of the land and the Snuneymuxw teachings. The play area will be made of natural materials, such as large play boulders, balanced logs, and surface materials will be wood fibers and sand for soft landing. Also, as a quick connection piece between the upper and lower landscape, we've integrated a series of hop logs which can be used for both play and travel in a joyful way between the spaces. Throughout the landscape, we've created opportunities for residents to have both solitary moments and also to socialize. We want to promote a sense of community throughout and also allow for moments of quiet contemplation. Next slide, please. As mentioned at the start, the site is flanked on 3 sides by some busy roads, so in order to create a safe and private space for the housing, we're suggesting that the fencing surrounding the project be increased to a solid 8-foot fence and further buffered with trees and shrubs. And then on the creek side, we will create a subtle physical separation with natural cedar split fence in order to allow for a strong visual connection to the beautiful creek beyond. The parking area we're showing with permeable paving, and the intention will be that it will not be restricted to vehicle use only, but also be used for socializing, social gatherings, public markets, or even play as desired. Next slide, please. To speak to the plants and tree families, we selected these as we took note of the plants in the undisturbed area of the creek and the site, and created a plan that focused on restoring the indigenous plants from the region to thrive once again on the site. In addition to reestablishing a healthy ecosystem of native plants, we also integrated medicinal plants that will provide healing to the residents to soothe the senses, calm the nerves, and evoke a sense of contentment and safety. There are also native plants with edible berries woven throughout the site to provide nourishment. Next slide, please. And finally, before the building begins, in preparation for the change that is coming, the earth on the site will be turned in a land turning ceremony to announce that the change is coming and to give the land time to prepare for this change. I'm grateful for this opportunity to share with you all, and I'll now pass on to Maris to speak to the architecture. Thank you.
I'll go back to this slide here. So just starting with the land walks first, this site gave us a lot of opportunity, and actually it also had many constraints though as well. Obviously we had the stream boundary to contend with, and also the sloping site, you know, managing parking. But it created a building that allowed us to have kind of a L shape, you know, a courtyard. And still allow a lot of green space on the site, and also buffered the that courtyard from kind of the soundscape that is around it, from both the major, you know, highway arterial and the 2 connecting roads. The main theme that we kind of worked with the nation on this was the kind of basket weave, and this kind of idea of the blanket wrapping the occupants of this building and kind of ensuring kind of hope, security, kind of a safe space. So we've incorporated that into the cladding of this building, working with kind of wood tones and a kind of a deep kind of ochre red color pattern, as well as obviously defined moments of weaving, kind of using contrasting colors to do so. The building I'll kind of introduce you to the main floor of the building. The main floor houses most of the administrative components of the building, including a lot of a few administrative offices, some rooms for social gatherings, some small child minding rooms, and then a communal kind of community room for social events within the building. There are 2 units on this floor. One's an accessible bedroom and the other a 3-bedroom. When you enter the building, there's a kind of an overhanging portion of the building that covers the parking area. And so you come in underneath this kind of concrete canopy that's kind of flanked with a few trees that kind of guide you within the space. As Bianca said, it is a 6-story building. There's about a 2-meter grade change across the site. And so we're trying to work with that grade to our advantage, including, you know, storage and bike storage within the basement as well. This is the main floor again here. You can kind of see a little bit more in detail. We have child minding, a very large meeting room, small counseling room, community room, and then a bit of administrative space. This is the lower level. Half of it's a full-size basement, so we have a good amount of bike storage and also tenant storage, which is much needed in these facilities. This is a typical floor plan, comprised up of 3 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, 1 bedrooms with many accessible. And on alternating floors, we've created a studio here and have a joint laundry facilities for people to use. As I mentioned before, it's made up of kind of a few different materials, mostly longboard, because we can get a curvature on the building in a certain spot. So we managed to allow for actual curved siding on this building. And then aluminum composite panels for the kind of red ochre color. And you can kind of see that curve where our concrete overhanging portion ends up here. So these are the wood tones are the longboard, and then the red is the aluminum composite. And then a portion of artwork that we're still working on as well, kind of identify a placeholder on the building for that. And then this is a view from the courtyard. I didn't do Bianca's beautiful plans justice in the rendering. It's often hard to mimic it, and I think that the overall plans are quite beautiful. But this gives you kind of an idea. You know, the interior space very well connected with the courtyard, and then the kind of terraced landscape design. And that's the end of our presentation. I think I'll hand it back to Joan just for some closing words.
Thank you again for Maris and Bianca and all of our relatives that helped with this amazing project. As we mentioned, this is following an ancestral way of being. In our heart and our minds, it's our understanding that no programs or nothing we build can replace the magic of the land. And our approach is, as Bianca says, we've got to heal the land first. And once she's healed through the indigenous plants, bringing back those opportunities, we'll see the magic begin, and she'll start what we understand to start speaking to our residents, to what we refer to as the Squalowin. The scars are so deep that we can't speak to the intellect or the emotion. We must go much deeper. But most importantly, what we really want to underscore is that the greatest teachings that we carry is love and respect. So when we think about Mara's wrapping, that's what we want to offer to the residents. We want them to know how to love again to that same level as the land loves us. Because we know in our lived experience that the land will give to her last breath. It's not unlike the rest of us, is how hard we work and how much we give. Is what we want to help our community members know, that this great hope, as Mara said, is that really through love and respect for each other. It's so important that we really, with everything that we touch, it's what we refer to as a sacred trust. We've got to give back. We've got to start taking care of each other in a meaningful way. And so we're so grateful that each of you have joined us so that you can bring your gifts to make sure that the dreams and the wishes, the aspirations of this amazing project will come to life with all of us working together. Because without a doubt, it takes all of us to walk in two worlds to provide the most meaningful outcome that we possibly can. Haitaka, Siamantiaya, Haitaka.
Great. Well, thank you, Joan and Bianca and Maris. That's great. Nice presentation. Thank you. Before we get going with the panel's comments, maybe just check and see if anybody on the panel would like to ask questions of the city. And welcome Angie and Harry. I see you're here now to join us, so that's great. Did anybody have any questions for the city staff on this project?
I had one question.
Okay, go ahead, Angie.
Yeah, I was just gonna see, I see that it was zoned for personal care facility. And I was just hoping to kind of understand a bit more about that zoning and what the intention is there as to how it varies maybe from supportive housing or other types of zoning.
Sure. Yeah, maybe I'll start with just a quick response from the city's perspective. We do have a use in our zoning bylaw that is personal care facility. It is a very, very broad use, and it does support a range of, I guess, subtypes of institutional uses and different and housing as well. So I think it's a very broad definition if you look in the zoning bylaw for personal care facility, and we find different types of housing and different types of uses fall under it. Maybe I'll turn it over if the applicant wants to speak more specifically to this project.
I think I can add here just to let you know, obviously, this building is family housing, but it is through a program with BC Housing that provides supports to these families. So there is that, program that will be involved with the housing and the vulnerable families that are part of it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, and Marta, you had a question?
Yeah, so is that why the parking then is limited to 0.2 per unit? Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah, in our in the off-street parking bylaw, there is a reduced rate for this use.
Okay, any other questions of staff? Okay, I would just ask one question of the presenter or the applicants here. You have gated secure fences on the front, and you're wanting, is the high fence on the front of the building as well? And I'm just wondering if there's a rationale for why it has to be so secure. Is it because of these sort of vulnerable families? I'm just wondering. Go ahead, Selena, or whoever wants to answer that.
Selena, I'll let you answer that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think again, just the families that will be there, are quite vulnerable. And so having that extra layer of protection just, keeps them in a safe place, makes them feel comfortable while they're, here going through their healing journey with the nation.
Okay, good. No, that helps because I was looking at the plans and it's kind of unusual to have sort of a big high security fence around a home or that kind of accommodation. So anyway, that's a explanation. So great. Since you guys started with the landscape, maybe that's where we'll start. And Jonathan, maybe you'd like to start off as our landscape expert.
Great. Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you to the applicant for the presentation. I don't have too much to say on the site design. At first, I was thinking maybe it might be nice to have more separation between the smoking area and the play area, but don't really see how you could fit that in the back courtyard further. For the building design, I like the look of the building. I don't have anything constructive to say on that. I think it looks good and it's a nice, unique design, which is good to see. For the landscape, yeah, you already provided an explanation for the fence. So that's, I guess, on the creek side, it's just a split rail fence. So I'm wondering if that kind of compromises that security aspect of it. But so I guess, yeah, is it more like, I'm still trying to understand how the taller fence really helps. Like, I guess if someone wants, is it keeping
maybe if I
people
could-
out or?
Yeah, maybe I can weigh in if that's okay.
Yes,
Please, thank you for your question. And really, at the end of the day, privacy is really important. It's hard to understand our most vulnerable in the sense that really spending those times, those quiet moments with our Indigenous plants is really key. So it's kind of twofold, keeping the outside in while focusing on something that's really going to promote the deepest healing, because that's what we're anxious for, and certainly that it's going to provide it with that level of privacy.
Okay, thank you. My only other comment on the landscape, I guess I didn't quite get a sense of where each of the different tree species was located on the plan, but just with the quaking aspen, I think those have pretty aggressive surface roots, so just be careful if those are planted near paving or underground pipes could be problematic. The variances, I guess like a 6.1 meter building height variance is pretty extreme. That's a pretty significant variance. So I guess there's just a few residential homes nearby. Otherwise, it's a lot of trees and the fire hall. So yeah, I guess the rationale for that was that was provided in the agenda package was that it just helps increase the density on the site and leave more open space. But I guess that would kind of be a rationale for any project to increase the building height. So I guess I'm kind of wondering in this instance what's kind of being done to mitigate the impact of that increased height.
I can speak to that for sure.
Yeah.
So one of the site's actually quite large, but of course the creek bisects it. We don't have any connection on the other side of it either. Originally we've kept this building quite skinny as well. So it's single loaded on one aspect and then double loaded on the other. And the only way we were able to achieve that was actually to cantilever over the small amount of parking that we do have. So we're nowhere near our density for the site. And it just allowed us to use the very small portion of land that was developable on this kind of large site to the advantage, while still maintaining a lot of open space within that small little package as well, even though the lot's quite a bit larger. So
okay,
hopefully that answered the question. But we've tried to keep the building actually very narrow.
Okay. Yeah, and the taller building near the highway, I kind of mitigates that overlook, but I guess there still are a few low residential homes nearby that might have privacy concerns. So, yeah, that's my only concern there. But it does seem like, just the nature of the development, it's a good reason to vary some of those restrictions. So, and the side yard setbacks, I think those reductions make sense. So I'm supportive of that. And that's it for my comments. Thank you.
Thanks, Jonathan. Marta, would you like to go ahead?
Yes, sure. So, few comments. I was on site yesterday and I saw a group of 3 children walking together without parents. They seemed very comfortable and safe. And so the whole community seems to be a lot of low, small single-family homes. So I think I would like to echo Jonathan's concern regarding the fence height. I know it's been explained, but it seems like the community is very much a tightly knit community already without an 8-foot tall fence surrounding it. And so I think, especially with the fire hall, it's right across the street. It's the safest building ever. It's completely protected. And it being in a valley, I just don't understand it. I think, I don't know, maybe I need to understand it better, but I don't. Then the other question I have is, the building's in a bit of a valley between the overpass of the Nanaimo Parkway and the raised road where Fire Hall number 4 is. So in the plans, I'm just trying to understand level 1, I'm assuming is at the elevation of the fire hall, or is it the level below? I think it's at the level of the fire hall. So then the area that's shown in plan, that's just that half the building portion that's all surrounded by a wall with all the storage, that's below. You're not excavating, right? Like it's just sitting on the land and there's a bare wall shown, or can somebody explain? Sorry.
The basement is fully under. It sticks out about 1.5 meters at one very at the western end there. And then the main level is actually about a half story below where the fire hall is, or even almost a full story. So the site slopes down quite a bit and our driveway comes down into it. So the building actually from the street, like the Cranberry intersection there, is probably a full story below. So you're going to be looking at about a 5-story from there.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. So that explains quite a bit. So then just a couple other comments. When I was there, I noticed that it was actually quite loud from the highway. So I'm wondering how you will be mitigating the noise transfer in previous projects where on the mainland we did a school right off the highway in downtown Vancouver. We did triple pane glass. Is that something that you're planning to do, and how are you ensuring privacy for these spaces?
We're not actually looking at triple pane glass at the moment, like our energy model, which kind of exceeds the Nanaimo standards, obviously, for BC housing. We're looking at double pane at the moment. But we are looking at, higher ease on the glazing itself. And actually, when you're driving on the highway, it'll be near impossible. I mean, you could stop and maybe look, but there is the fence there on the highway too. So it's actually quite challenging to look into this site from the highway. And then in terms of noise, definitely a concern there. It is still quite noisy, but I think the landscape will actually add quite a bit of a buffer to it. And hopefully we can mitigate it through those plantings mostly.
Okay, so if the building is 6 stories high, it's going to be above that embankment where the Nanaimo Parkway is. We did 3 panes of glass, not for environmental measures, but for sound, and it did help. So that's something that I would highly recommend doing so that people are comfortable in their units and to reduce stress. Just moving up and down the building, just little things. For the elevator overrun, it seems like there's a lot of a really large overhang, and the flashing, there's a flashing details where it's kind of doubled up. I'm not sure it's actually, I feel like it's taking away from the woven look of the outside. Like, it's a bit of a distraction. So that's just my personal opinion on that. I do like the woven idea, but it would be nice, in my opinion, to break the building up just a little bit because it's such a large building, and have areas maybe where it's more tightly woven in some spots to kind of highlight some of the very intricate and amazing weaving strategies that the Sunemu use. Also, across from the elevator, there seems to be a little nook where there's a seating area. Considering maybe putting in a window there so that when you get off the elevator, the first connection you have is to nature. That might bring some value and just make it feel like a more peaceful, connected space. And then the other question is, with regards to parking, there's going to be a lot of families living there. At point 2, I'm not sure how they're going to be served for communication to the other parts of town. Is there a good public, is there busing or something that's really, really easily accessible there? And that's my last comment. Thank you.
I can say,
Go ahead, Selena.
sorry, Maris. Yeah, I was gonna say, not along that road right there, but if they walk a little bit farther, there is the transit exchange that is proposed for that area, which then leads, of course, to that, that bus transit line down the
There's
road.
also discussions already within the operations of this building to have a kind of a communal kind of van for doing grocery runs and such. So.
Yeah, which is part of, those programs and supports that are provided to help, hopefully, barring funding permits, have that, that vehicle available.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for the other comments too. Those are great. Thank you.
Thanks, Marta. Angie, would you like to go?
Yeah, thanks, Madam Chair. Thanks a lot for the presentation. I think it's great to go through it and to understand the background and the intentionality of the work that's being proposed here. I think the weaving pattern is really unique and really meaningful, and that's great to see. great to hear that permeable paving is being used in the parking area. And yeah, I think it'll be a good project. The only comments I had were I didn't see a covered shelter for the bikes outside, and I thought that could be something to consider. If there's an opportunity to cover those, they might be a bit more usable. And then I kind of echoed, I echo some of the concerns with the 2 additional stories there, just wanting to better understand how that impacts those residences. I mean, I think it's an opportune place where there are a lot of directions where that shading wouldn't really impact neighbors, but to the north, and I think it was the northeast area, there's some of those single family residences. So I think it would be helpful to see a bit of the impacts from shading there to help understand. I did see too they've got gardens and everything else, so just making sure that that's not going to significantly impact them. I don't know if there's been any engagement done with those families, but it would be or those residences, but it'd be, I think, helpful to better understand that as well. But yeah, I think that's all the comments I have. Thanks for presenting, and great to see it.
Thanks, Angie. Harry?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for the presentation. Also, I had concerns about the high fence, but those questions have been answered, and I understand why you would consider that now. The basket weaving siding, that's a really great touch for the building design. I really like that. I think it's going to be a standout building for sure. Landscaping, yeah, looks all great. I was a little bit concerned with the height variance also, but understanding now why you're trying to maximize the land area, that makes total sense. Yeah, that's it. It's a really, really nice project. Thank you.
Thanks, Harry. Hector? Are you there, Hector?
Sorry. Thanks, Madam Chair. Yeah, I was on mute. Thanks, Madam Chair. Thanks to the presenter. I think I understand most of the comments and I agree with them. But I don't have a big concerns with the variance requests that have been requested on this project. So yeah, I don't think I have any further comments on it. So thank you so much.
Okay, thanks, Hector. And Alex, looks like you're there. Are you with us, Alex?
Yes, I'm here. Yeah, I just hopped in. Sorry, I missed the presentation, but I did review the designs beforehand. So I hear that there's going to be permeable pavement. I think that's awesome. I also really like the basket weave exterior. I think it's very unique, and I think that's a cool element. One of my concerns was the noise from the highway. I don't know if it's possible, perhaps, to plant some tall, narrow trees that could maybe grow up and kind of dampen that noise. But I know the site is a bit confined. I don't know if that would cast too much of a shadow. But yeah, also the triple pane window comment, I mean, that makes sense. I don't know from a cost perspective how that would impact the project, but overall, it looks like a nice project. And yeah, thank you.
No. Great. Thank you, Alex. And Hillary?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much to the presenters, first off, for the presentation. I know that we've been excited to see this project come forward, and it's a really much needed addition to housing types in Nanaimo. family oriented, this is huge. So thank you for your work on this project. The building looks really beautiful. I'm jealous of the woven design and the attention to detail you've put into that. I think it looks amazing. And of course, the landscape design is very intentional. And I love the natural play area that you've included for the children. Glad to see that there is an accessible unit and that you've thought about gathering spaces on the site. I did have questions about the fencing, and so I'm glad that those have been addressed, and I think you're sort of weighing the needs there. I appreciate the panel's comments around the noise concerns, and I would reiterate those as well. The number of parking spaces, I understand how that's part of what the zoning allows on that site, and I hope, it sounds like you're going to figure out some type of car share situation, so that will be addressed that way. Otherwise I think I'm on board with the variances, and other than the fence one, which, question mark for me, but the rest of it looks wonderful, and I really appreciate all the work on this, and looking forward to seeing this come to fruition.
Well, thank you, Hillary. Great. Well, I'll just add my comments to the mix here. Heard some good comments. I'd like to say how much it's just a very handsome looking building, and really like the way it sort of fits into the landscape and has been shaped with the landscape. That's always wonderful. I like, we had another presentation here once before where the landscape was presented first. I like that idea where the building seems to grow out of it as opposed to being plunked down onto it. So that's really much appreciated. I think it's also a much needed building in our community for care of families and so on. I think it sounds like you've got a really unique project happening here, and happy to see that go ahead. However, I still have a few concerns with things like the security fence at the front. I really felt that almost like it's almost like a prison or jail-like setting with so much security and high fences, and with residents across the street and so on. It does kind of set up a kind of intimidating atmosphere, and you might want to just think about, even if there's a way that you could lower it in the front so that at least people just sort of see over it, because it sounds like a lot of your programming will actually happen in the back where the planters and the plants are, and that's very private. You can keep the side fences maybe along the sides much higher, but it's just a thought. It might make it look a little bit more welcoming to the rest of the neighborhood, and so that you have some cohesion between the people that are there now and the people that you're going to move in there. This would be one thought. Also really like the permeable paving on the driveway, and the thoughts of using it both for other functions besides parking and have it a kind of a multi-usable space, which is great. The other thing I think the staff had noticed it too is how the entrance to the building, it seems to me very discreet and almost hidden. And I was just wondering if you might want to consider, I think you could highlight it in a very easy way by either, you've got the canopy over the top. You could add a little bit of color along there, just a slight color. Like you've got those poles with some sort of decoration on them on the parking lot. Take those same colors. The other thought I had is even a mural just below the canopy on the red colored portion to the right of the door, and that would just tell you that's where the door is. So it's not making the door more obvious, but making a visual reference that would guide people to that door. So just a suggestion that might help to perk that up there. Because I think it's a lovely building, and it'd be nice to highlight where you come into this into that embrace of the building. Okay. So other than that, those would be my comments. And so I don't really have a problem with the variances. I think your location for the height, you're set back a bit from some of those buildings. And again, I just like the fence. The fence, I think, is probably for me the most difficult one, having a big high fence in the front and it all sort of blocked away. you want to make it look more like a home rather than a prison. So that would be my worry. And it'll also be more accommodating for the neighbors. So anyway, I'm not hearing, I don't know, do we have any objections from the panel on the variances? Like, do we want to, I think everybody's made their points about it and understands it, but I think if there's ways that you can work with them and think about how the neighbors are going to, how that's going to impact on them, I guess is the other concern. Alex, were you wanting to say something? No? Okay. Great. Okay. We've got a few recommendations then to go along with that. So I think we need you to consider the necessity of the extra height of the fence, especially on the front of the property. Okay. And consider using 3-pane glass in the windows on the highway side of the building to mitigate the sound. Consider adding a small window near the elevators to open up that space and give it some light, make it more inviting. And consider varying the weaving pattern on the facade of the building to give it a bit more variety. Did you want to put that in as a recommendation, Marta? And did I say that correctly?
No, I think it's okay the way it is. But if there's some areas where you want to add a little bit of variability, maybe by the entrance, as we were suggesting, that might be nice.
Okay.
I will say we're still working on it too. Like every time we do more detailing, we're like, oh, what if we I respect the like a little bit more detail. We're also kind of trying to figure out how to. So going back to your mural comment, we're trying to figure out how to incorporate that with some of the concrete form, whether it's water blasting some of the concrete in terms of texture. So we're working on other details that are kind of in line with both those comments.
Yeah. Okay. So we won't put it in as a formal recommendation. We've thrown those ideas out there then.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Yeah, they're good ones.
And consider a covered bike parking area, and consider how the building height might impact the neighbors. Just put it as that. So that's only 5 recommendations. That's not bad. And with support of the variance. So does one of the panel members want to put forward a motion then to accept the project as presented with those recommendations and support for the variances? Harry is going to motion. Seconder, Angie, all in favor? Okay, great. Okay, well, thank you everybody for coming in. Really appreciate the time you've spent on it, and look forward to seeing this project go ahead.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Yes,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and we've got a second presentation this evening on Prideaux Street, and Christine Mays will present this one. Go ahead, Christine.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So development permit application DP 1377 is for 2 3-story ground-oriented multifamily residential buildings, and that's a total of 5 townhouse units, and 3 of those are 2-bedroom and 2 of those are 3 bedrooms. The subject property is zoned Old City Mixed Use, so that's DT8 in our zoning bylaw, and is designated Old City Neighborhood and City Plan. The property is located on the west side of Prideaux Street, and that's between Franklin and Albert Street. Subject property falls within Development Permit Area 8 farming character, and as such, the General Development Permit Area Design Guidelines, as well as the Old City Multifamily Residential Design Guidelines, apply to the proposed development. The applicant has not identified any proposed variances in their plans, and I'm happy to take any questions if there are any. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Great, Christine, thank you. And who's presenting? Oh, sorry, Jonathan, did you want to say something?
Oh, sorry, do staff questions come after the presentation?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Who's presenting this evening?
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm Rohit from Saanich Designs. I would be presenting up a presentation for that.
Yes, and you go ahead and share your screen anytime you're ready, okay?
Can you guys see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Perfect, sounds good. Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Rohit. I would be presenting up a new townhouse development at 415 Predog Street in Nanaimo. This project aims to enhance our community by providing thoughtful designed housing that complements the existing neighborhood. So the proposed site is located in the Old City neighborhood, a vibrant area characterized by a mix of single-family houses, multifamily houses, and commercial spaces. It is also conveniently located near Paulson Park and Park, offering residents townhouse development, providing a walkable and connecting living environment. Our proposal includes 5 ground-oriented townhouses. These units are designed with the modern living in mind, each featuring 2 bedrooms and a rec room. The development adheres a floor area ratio of 0.9, ensuring responsible land use. The design focuses on creating attractive and functional homes that meets the needs of today's residents. So in our site plan has been carefully considered to maximize space and functionality. We are committed to preserving the natural environment as demonstrated by retaining 1 landmark tree on the property. Each unit has its own outdoor space, promoting up a connection with nature. Furthermore, we are including 5 EV garage parking spaces and 1 outdoor visitor parking space to support sustainable transportation. We also have 5 bike parking stalls located in the garage. For the waste management, we are incorporating a proper waste management system into the design. This includes dedicated garbage bin space for 3 stream containers in the garages, ensures efficient recycling and waste disposal. Garbage pickups will be managed by a private company. A communal garbage shed will be provided for the residents' convenience. For form and character, the architectural design draws an inspiration from the contemporary West Coast style, featuring clean lines and subtle color palettes. We incorporated 3 distinct color patterns to create visually appealing homes that are individually recognizable yet maintain harmony with one another. This design is inspired by neighboring architectural styles and it is consistent with the local context. Pitched roofs enhance the compatibility with the existing neighborhood. For the material details, we are committed using high quality durable materials and as suggested by Old City neighborhood guidelines. This would be hardy sidings with a 6-inch exposure and hardy boards with the battens, which is known for their durability and aesthetic appeal. Double glazed vinyl windows will provide energy efficiency and noise reduction. The color scheme consists of neutral tones complemented by dark trims, creating a sophisticated and timeless look. In the landscape plan, we are focusing on enhancing the natural beauty of the site. We are retaining existing trees and incorporating Japanese maple to provide vibrant color. Personal patio will be offered to residents, providing outdoor space while hedging mixtures will future enhance the natural environment, creating up a welcoming and attractive streetscape. Proposal represents a valuable addition, promotes sustainable living, and enhance overall character of the community. We believe this project aligns with the city goals and responsible development and community growth. We are confident that this development will be a positive asset to the Nanaimo, and we urge you to approve this proposal. Thank you. Please let me know for the further questions.
Thank you, Rohit.
Yeah.
Thank you. You were breaking up a little bit there, so I'm not sure. I didn't think it was from my end, but
sorry.
I think we got most of it. So
yeah.
Okay. Jonathan, you had a question for staff?
Yeah, I noticed this one doesn't have a landscape architect listed. Is having landscape plan prepared by a landscape architect part of the city's requirements for a DP submission?
We can have plans that are a little, I guess, done respective of the guidelines. It doesn't specify it has to be done by a landscape architect or nursery professional. However, the cost estimate will have to be. So, through through recommendations from DAP, that could be something that's explored.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Jonathan. Anybody else have questions of staff on this one?
Yeah, sorry.
Go ahead.
Thanks, Madam Chair. I was just looking at again the kind of the parking requirements for the space, and it seemed like it was maybe short a space, but I might have been calculating it wrong. And I put it in as area 5, and I think I would put it at 6 parking spots plus a visitor spot. But maybe is it classified in a different area? Or?
Yes, so it is area 5, and so for the unit calculations, for this particular development, 5 spaces would be required. So there is actually one additional space, and when we calculate visitor parking spaces, it also can be included in that calculation, so it can be a percentage of. And so usually it's at a rate of 1 per 22. And in this particular case, it's too small of a percentage for it to actually be a requirement.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying.
Thanks.
Okay, let's see. And I'll start here. Harry, do you want to give a go?
Yeah, the design complements the neighborhood for sure. I like it. They look cute. One of the staff comments was using hardy shingles on the siding. I think that would complement the units immensely.
Sure. Yeah, we can change that. Yeah.
Landscape, very very minimal. So got no comments on that. But otherwise, that's all I have on that. Thank you for the presentation.
Thank you.
Thanks, Harry. Jonathan, you want to go?
Yeah, thanks, Madam Chair. I like the look of the building. I think it's nice to see trying to integrate some of those old city design characteristics. But yeah, I guess the sidewalls, the blank sidewalls, if something can be done to improve that, that would be good. For the site design, yeah, I think I agree with the staff comments that were provided. Some of them, like moving the walkway to the other side, or having some landscape separation between the walkway and the building. I found it a bit hard to review the landscape because the plan was a bit lacking in detail in terms of ground materials, plant species. So this is one I kind of would want to see come back with some more detail. I just have a lot of questions, like, is there fencing along the property line? What species is that hedge? How tall is the hedge? Some of the, yeah, there's just, it's very minimal in detail, so it's kind of hard for me to provide comments. And yeah, some of the planting just seems a bit random, like the apple tree on the property line seems a bit odd. Yeah, this is just one I'd like to see come back. I'll just leave it at that. Thanks.
Thanks, Jonathan. Alex, let's go.
Yes. It's nice to see incremental infill coming into Nanaimo because I think we need a lot of that. I like how you had the designated spaces for garbage and recycling, because oftentimes it's an afterthought and it's kind of like, okay, figure out where to put your garbage or recycling. So that's nice. Yeah, I guess yeah, one of my questions is there fencing to kind of, section off your property from the neighboring properties, or is there no fence?
Yeah, we'll be proposing up a fence over there. and in front and back we'll have a small fence to give up like a patio look of 4 feet, and then on the sides we'll put up a full fence of like 5 feet or 6 feet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it looks good, and yeah, thanks for the presentation.
Thanks.
Great, thanks, Alex. Hillary, would you like to go?
Sure, thank you. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I really like the look of them. I think they've done a nice job of making it fit with the character of the old city, so I appreciate that. And this is another housing form that we do need more of, so that is really nice to see. I like that the entrance is off the laneway. I thought that the staff comments were good, so I don't think there's anything I need to reiterate there, but I did have questions because the landscape plan was not super detailed there, so I would support certainly the request for it to come back with a bit more detail there, and was glad to see that there was a plan to retain a shared oak tree on the south side yard, because there are some really nice mature trees around there. But yeah, I appreciate the applicants for bringing this forward, and the panel's comments. Thank you.
Thanks, Hillary. But Angie, have you gone yet? Sorry. Go ahead.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Okay, yeah. No, I don't have too much here, but again, just thanks for the presentation. I agree with the other panel comments that it does really blend in with the look and feel and the context of that neighborhood. I think, yeah, switching to a wood shingle siding would you know, just amplify that much more. So I think that would be worth considering. One question I did have is around, so it's great that you clarified the refuse will be, you know, private pickup. Is there an opportunity for that truck to turn around, or how will that work with that laneway?
Yeah, so for we have like when we're initially doing it, like with the back they can do it, like the truck can back off, and 23 feet over there, like if they wanted a small truck to turn, they can turn it to.
Okay. I'm just thinking if that's like backing all the way back out, it might be quite noisy if it's, you know, beeping and
Yeah, so
yeah, don't want to create a
Well,
nuisance.
I live in a small building, and what they do is they actually come up to they walk up the driveway, they leave the truck in the road, and then they roll the carts down, which is very noisy at 6 a.m. So that's what you get.
Yeah, I guess you can't win either way. But yeah, I think that's just something to consider, is how is that going to, you know, impact the neighborhood in that way. And then somewhat similarly, what the expectation is for deliveries for, you know, packages to arrive and whatnot. If there's, just because it's two kind of separated buildings, if there's been some thought as to, you know, how that might work, or how they can get from, you know, if they're parking on Prudhoe, then how they can get around to the back laneway to the back residences and whatnot.
Yeah, for the deliveries, it's just like we have a sidewalk over there. Like if they're on Prudhoe, they can park up over there. If they're actually on side, they can use up a visitor parking stalls. We're thinking of like, and then they can deliver up over there.
Yeah, I don't think and I might be wrong here, with just the plan I'm looking at, but I don't see a connected pathway from Prudhoe to the entrances of the other buildings. But I guess it connects to the lane, like to the driveway and the laneway, so that could be maybe an option there. Is that kind of how it's intended, is to use?
Yeah, like so they will have up a connection. They will walk over there. Like that would be like very small, like no speed zone, like would be like 10-15, right? Like, and then they can just walk. They will be sharing it with the driveway to walk to the other side.
Okay. I think actually that's all the comments I had is just around those. So yeah, great to see another project come through, and yeah, like I said, I think it'll fit into this neighborhood. So thanks for presenting.
Thanks.
Thanks, Angie. Marta?
Hi, thank you very much for this project. This is a great typology for this neighborhood. It's so, it's just perfect use of the density. I also agree with most of the city's comments. They're really good. The blank walls on the ground floor of the 3-story, I think if it's possible with how close it is to adjacent property lot lines, if we could add a few windows somehow, where reasonable, that would be really good.
Yeah.
A question about the landscaping drainage. So, and this is something I really liked about this this property as well, is that it slopes quite a bit from the laneway. It slopes down to Prudhoe. And so I like that the buildings are essentially almost the same height, even though one is 2 stories and one is 3 stories. I think it's quite cute. But it means that the driveway is sloping down quite a bit. And so I'm just wondering if you had thought about site drainage and how to prevent a wet basement in that one building below.
Yeah, so we're putting up a drain there would be proper drainage plan for it, and then there would be we're putting up a drain tiles over there, and then this would be pavers too, so that they can absorb more water. Right now they are currently concrete, but like we'll be proposing of some pavers over there too, and then there would be the drain would be there in front of garages, so that the water can flow up over there.
So the city had proposed like a textured driveway finish. Are you suggesting that as part of like a permeable paver system, or I'm not sure I'm understanding.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yep. Thank you very much. Yep.
Hello?
Those are my comments.
Okay, and Hector?
Thanks, Madam Chair. Thanks to the applicant. I think I support like Jonathan's comment that I think the applicant needs to get back with a more detailed site plan and landscape plan. I think the design of the building overall is nice. I think it really works with the context. And as other panel members have said, like the infill and typology really makes sense. It's not really part of the design panel, but I'm a bit concerned about like the code compliance of the building block B, because you have an open staircase to the garage. So that's not really like a design panel. But my concern is like if you change the design, might change the whole design of the building once you make it code compliant. But yeah, I think those are my comments. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thanks. Yeah, so anyway, it's nice to see more townhouse projects in that area as an infill project. So I agree with everybody in terms of the appearance of the building. I think it looks good in this particular context. I would agree with, I don't know that it needs more variation on the shingles or anything, but we'll leave that up to you. But also I do think you need to do something with the sidewalls. And you have a perfect opportunity to add more windows to some of those rooms. So windows and varied textures of material would help to make it not look like a big blank wall. And I think it's also what I'm hearing here, all the different comments. It's really important that we have you come back with a landscape plan that outlines the plants that you're going to put in, the types of fences, the paving materials, and so on. So I think and there's a little bit of work that has to be done on the site design. I was looking at the where you've got the garbage shed there, or the unit. You've got it right beside the corner of the driveway. So if somebody's coming around, the door's open, and somebody's coming around the corner, it may be a problem. I'm in agreement with the staff that maybe you could get rid of that visitors parking spot tucked over on the side and actually put your garbage room over there, so that it's sort of safely tucked away. Now it does make it further for the pickup people to come and get the carts, but it would be a little safer spot maybe than that corner where you have it located. So again, I think that you could elaborate on that in a landscape design, proper landscape design. Okay.
Yeah.
I think all that has to be. It's really hard for us to assess that without further information. And similarly, wayfinding that Angie mentioned. So where your sidewalks are and how people are going to find their way around the site would be articulated in that landscape plan too. So all those things could be pointed out a little more clearly.
Yeah.
So that would be good. So in terms of recommendations, then we have consider adding some hardy shingles to add variety to the exterior. Consider how to improve the sidewalls by adding windows or more textured materials. And I think otherwise just return with a landscape design that provides more information on plants, fences, paving, location of the garbage, and parking. So all of those things. Does that sound good to the panel? Did I miss anything? No? Okay. And I don't think there's no variances on this project. Okay. So we can have a motion to accept it for now with the agreement that he's going to come back to the panel with the landscape design with those recommendations. Okay. Marta's making the motion, and seconder. Hector, all in favor? Great. Okay. Thank you, Rohit, for coming in, and good luck with it. Well, look forward to seeing your landscape plan. Okay?
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have one more presentation this evening. Just wonder if we want to have about a 10-minute break. Everybody, how's everybody doing? Or you want to just plow ahead? No comment? We can finish up? Okay. We'll go ahead and see if we can do this. Okay. So we've got a third presentation this evening, this time one on Hanson Road, and Peyton Carter will introduce it to us. Go ahead,
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for your patience, everybody. Development permit application DP1378 is phase 2 of a townhouse development with 42 units in a combination of 6 triplexes and 6 fourplexes. A previous development permit was approved for 2 4-story apartment buildings on this lot. However, the proposal has since been revised and the owner is proceeding with the townhouse development. Phase 1 of this project is located across the central drive aisle from the newly proposed townhouses and is currently under construction. However, both phases intend to operate as a single development. The property is currently zoned medium density residential R8 and falls within development permit area 8, our form and character development permit area. As such, the general development permit area design guidelines apply. I'm happy to take any questions following the applicant's presentation. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Great. Thank you, Peyton. Who's presenting this evening?
I'll be presenting. My name is Rusilla, and I'm
okay.
from Family Tree Developments. I helped do the development permit application for phase 1 and doing phase 2 as well.
Okay, so go ahead and share your...
Okay, thank you. Okay, everybody can see this image? Yeah, okay. So this is an aerial photo that we just took last week of phase 1 complete on site. So as you can see, we've completed up to block 15 here. And this section of the lot is where we were initially intending to put 2 apartment buildings. We crunched some numbers and determined that the townhouse format was working better. So that is how we arrived at this layout here. Actually, before I show you guys that, I just wanted to dive through some photos of the buildings on phase 1, because we're basically using the same building types, just repeating it over phase 2 as well. So this is an image of a 3-unit, 2-story building. There's only one instance of this in phase 2. That would be for block 16. And then this is the side elevation of a bump out for the 2-story, 3-unit building format. And then you've got the 3-story, 4-unit building. This is a roof type 2. Roof type 1 has these 2 center units with the full height bump out. That just provides some variation between the units. And you'll note a typical side bump out of the 3-story units, whether it's a 3-unit or 4-unit building. And that covers all of the building types. We further varied the unit types based on 4 color palettes. So those are repeated throughout the site, as you can see with the color call up here on each of these. So just going to some of the comments that we received from the feedback from you guys. We did end up adding raised crosswalks accessing the lower park in phase 1, and another raised crosswalk here, and a raised crosswalk here for the public pathway, and again here, and then a speed bump here. So those all help tie in the central park. I guess just diving through some major points. There's 12 buildings in phase 2. We've got 42 residential units overall. And as you can see, we've provided ample excess site parking with private pathways that connect to the rear of each of the units through these different landscaped pathways. The whole property is under one ownership, so we built it in 2 phases, but it's going to operate as one whole development. So this central park area is an amenity that all of the residents on the property get to use. The central park has these nice big trellis features at the entrance of each end, just to call attention to this is kind of the entrance into the park area. These 3 units, these two units, excuse me, at the back, block 27 and 26, we provided at the rear of the buildings a bump out with a roof overhang to make the rear entrances a little bit more fancy. So it looks like kind of the front face of a building facing the street. So we don't just have the rear of the building facing. Just some other comments. The grade of the site is sloping approximately 2 meters from the top to the bottom here. And so to address that in blocks 18 and 19, we have the rear of the building stepped up for a large retaining wall. And this is a typical side elevation for block 18 and 19. And then if you go back here, blocks 22 and 23 has a little bit less grade for us to make up. So this is what the typical side elevation of those 2 blocks are. And then the remainder of the blocks are just a typical, excuse me if I can, are just a typical flat elevation like this. So those are the 3 variations of the sides of the buildings. Some comments from Landscape, who was not able to make the meeting today, unfortunately. If I can just pull up her comments. Some feedback we got from you guys was that maybe we should add some visual buffers between the rear of the units, the patios. So there is a lot of landscape buffer between each of them, although we're open to adding like wood partition fencing between each of those units, similar to how we did in phase 1. Landscape architects have a consultant for lighting engineer, so we'll address, dark light or low light pollution. I'm just going through my notes here. Yeah, so we have a great circulation for foot traffic through the whole property. We strategically located visitor parking here, 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 and up here. And there's pathway access to all of them from any point on the site. So it's really, really services the whole property well. Each of the garages internally have space for all 3 garbage, recycling, and compost cans. And we have private pickup that goes along the street. And yeah, I believe that is the end of my comments. Thank you for taking the time to review this with us.
Great, thanks, Rosilla. You can stop sharing your screen. And does anybody panel members have questions of staff on this project? Nope. Okay, well, we can get started. Marta, would you like to begin?
Hi, yes, thank you. So this is a wonderful project in the sense that the areas that you've chosen to develop is great. It's right near a school. It's kind of an undeveloped area with new housing coming in. It's really great, and I like how the whole development is arranged so that from the balconies, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but you should be able to see Mount Benson from almost all the balconies, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, absolutely. The whole property, every point of it has great views of Mount Benson. The whole site is actually sitting maybe about 3 meters above the average grade of the BC Hydro building. So all of them are starting high enough to view over that large building as well for the closer buildings to that property.
Yeah, that's really cool. And then I don't know if I'm mistaken or not, but it seems like a couple of the trees are hoarded off. Are they going to be kept? I don't know. I'm seeing some.
Yeah. So there's 2 large
Two.
old growth Gary oak trees that we've protected, and both the central parks are kind of planned around those trees. And one of the comments in your guys' feedback to us was potentially adding benches around those trees. Our landscape architect had recommended that we keep foot traffic to the designated hardscape areas to prevent damage of the critical root zone. So that's part of the logic to why we've just made an oversized central park and keep the area below the trees more of just grass area.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if they were Gary Oaks because the leaves are gone, but yeah, that's fantastic because they're so rare here. Yeah.
There's also one at the entrance of Hanson Road that's also just about as big, so it's kind of a theme of the whole property, I think.
Okay. Then just a couple comments of maybe to consider. The block 24 is quite close to the visitor parking. One of the walls is, so I'm kind of torn because it technically might have a view of Mount Benson, but I think most likely it just has a view of the parking. I wonder if there's a good way to screen it from there.
Landscaping has provided 4 large trees,
Okay.
of which are 3 Gary oak and 1 ironwood, Persian ironwood, and those trees grow to 14 feet. And additional to those 4 trees for buffer, the corner of the closest stall is, I'm just ballparking here, but it looks like about 7 feet. So it's a pretty big distance between those 2, and then it's all garden between the building and the parking stall.
Okay. And then the crossing, thank you for connecting that. That I think makes sense because on one side, there's sidewalk on one side of the development and then it switches over to the other. So that keeps things safe. In terms of the architecture, I think it matches the existing buildings on site well because it's all part of the same, which is great. The thing that maybe consider switching up on this development is the bump outs on the roof that are on the original. To me, it just seems a little bit strange, especially the ones that have the supports from the bottom. I don't know. It's just a thought, but
I just have one comment on that. In phase 1, it was the majority of the units were the 2-story building type. Whereas in phase 2, there's only 1 of that building type.
Yeah.
And the roof lines vary much more dramatically between the 2 roof types for the 3-story building. So I think you'll be happy with there's a greater difference between each building type for phase 2.
Wonderful. Okay, and thank you very much. Those are all my comments.
Thanks, Marta. Jonathan?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I saw in the design rationale that for both phases there was a surplus of parking provided, and I'm wondering if you could give a little more detail on why you decided to provide extra parking rather than using that space for something else.
Yeah, so the required parking for the total lot for phase 1 and 2 is 167, and we've provided 206. So that's a 24% surplus, I guess. I guess it's just nice to have extra parking. The property's big enough that it's not really realistic for people to park all the way on Hanson Road and then walk potentially up to like 0.3 kilometers all the way to the end of the development if they were visiting and there wasn't enough stalls. So I guess just the scale of the lot, we had enough space, and yeah. So I just think that more parking stalls for visitors is always nice. I don't think it's too many.
Yeah, when I first read that, I was a little worried, and then I looked at the plan, and it looked like they're kind of these small pockets spaced out. It didn't seem too excessive. So the number itself, like 39 extra stalls, seemed like a lot, but it didn't feel too bad once I looked at the plans. So
Yeah, it's a 6.5 acre lot. So that's spread across. Yeah, and as you say, like we broke it up into small clusters, and there's landscape buffers on all 3 sides of all the dedicated site parking. So they're well integrated into the whole property, I think.
yeah, I agree. I think you did a good job of doing that. But yeah, I just was curious why you went above the required. But, there was the staff comment about seating by the oak trees. I guess, yeah, I understand why you want to protect the roots, but you could probably, I'm thinking maybe that you could have like a bench just off the pathway or the paving where it's near the oak tree. That way it's not impacting the root zone, but I guess it's a spot someone could sit and sort of enjoy the shade or whatever from the tree.
Yeah.
So there might be a way to integrate some seating without having a negative impact on the trees. So I think that's worth considering. The gravel pathways, at first I was kind of looking at and thinking maybe it would make more sense to pave those just to reduce kind of the maintenance of gravel kind of getting in the lawn area and improving accessibility. But I saw in your photos to use the gravel walkways in phase 1, so it probably makes sense to match that visually. But
yeah, and we skirted the paths with tall, sorry, I can't remember, they're like rubber landscaping. So there's quite a bit of containment for that crush blue chip gravel. We haven't seen too many issues with it getting kicked into the grass. And
yeah,
also
it'll be
less impermeable surfaces on the property. It's nice.
Yeah, it's nice to have more water infiltration, but yeah, over time, as those edgings wear out, could potentially be a maintenance challenge. But
yeah,
I guess you'll see how that goes.
Yeah, it is a rental development, so it's one owner that's maintaining the whole property, as opposed to a strata, which might be a little more confusing to deal with, allocating monies.
It's my only other, yeah, overall, I like the development, and it's nice that you have some varied color schemes for the buildings. The only other comment I had was for the bike rack in the Central Park. It does look a bit crowded to the picnic table, and I think it would be better to use a different style of bike rack. So rather than the one rack that has the multiple places to put the wheel in, having just a row of maybe 2 or 3 of those individual racks where people can lean the bike frame right up against the rack rather than relying on the tire to hold the bike in place. They'll just accommodate a wider variety of bikes better, and it could maybe serve less bikes, but it's probably okay.
Yeah, I agree. That does look like it's kind of jutting out into that path a bit there.
But yeah, I think just
give it more breathing room.
swapping the larger rack for just like those individual kind of upside down U racks where you can lean the frame right up against the two posts would work better there.
Right.
But yeah, other than that, I think it looks like a good project overall. Thank you.
Thanks, Jonathan. Angie?
Yeah, thanks, Madam Chair. Yeah, thanks for the presentation. I agree. I think with some of the other panel comments that this is really valuable housing in this area, close to a school, and lots of amenities close by as well. I don't really have too many comments. I think that the development looks good and it's gonna, blend in well with phase one that you already have underway there. My only question, and I know that you touched on the crossed pathway in your presentation, but I didn't see it in our documents, so I just wanted to see, will there also be a crossed or a raised crosswalk at the where the pedestrian path, that gravel path, I believe it is, between the units crosses over by the visitor parking? Is that?
Yeah. So there's two crosswalks that connect the south loop parkway up to the pathway that goes to the central park. So there's like a nice full figure 8 loop that you could do walking the whole property.
Oh, okay.
We haven't updated that site plan to you guys yet, although we did just put in the building permit application, which does show these raised crosswalks.
Right. Okay. I think the one that I'm thinking of is between block 20 and block 17.
Oh, sorry, let me just 20 and 17. Yeah. Okay. And
Just
sorry.
where people might want to walk up to Bowen Road there.
I see. You're saying that pathway doesn't exit onto a sidewalk; it exits onto the road.
Yeah, I think it exits onto the road there by the visitor parking. And it'd be helpful to even just have, some type of marking to show that that's kind of a pedestrian crossway, because likely
Right.
they'll be to, up to Bowen to get to amenities and whatnot.
Okay.
That may be one there. Or if there's an alternate route that makes more sense, then
Yep.
that works
Yep,
too.
we'll
Just
address that.
the cross or the side on the other. Yeah, but yeah, otherwise, yeah, thanks for the presentation and best of luck with the next steps of the project.
Thanks.
Thanks, Angie. Harry? Oh, sorry, Alex next. I'm just following the path here.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, just a couple comments. I like how you are keeping the Gary Oak trees. I think that's a good feature. I also like how you have extra parking, because I agree, if you didn't have enough parking and then people had to walk from Hanson Road, it's a bit of a walk. Because I drove the site the other day and it is it's a bit of a walk from Hanson Road. I like how there's a lot of connectivity with the pathways for pedestrians. I think that's a really nice feature. When it comes to, one of the other panel members made a comment about a privacy fence, maybe. And I just want to make a comment. I lived in a patio home for a couple years. And we, as a way to create privacy between us and the neighbors, they didn't make like a full fence that divided us between the neighbors, but they just had, I don't know what you call it, but it was just like a big wooden panel that had shrubbery and vines growing up it. And it, it created a visual divide. So that would be more cost effective to do that than build a huge fence. Yeah, but overall, I think it's a good development. It's nice. I actually like the colors in person. And yeah, I think it's a great addition to that part of the city. So thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Alex. Your turn, Harry.
Thank you. I don't have many comments on the building design or the landscaping, because I understand you want to make it blend seamlessly between phase 1 and phase 2. I drove by there on the weekend and I saw a lot of young families with children and I noticed you had the basketball court. I was thinking that maybe a playground may be better suited there instead of the basketball court. But just my thoughts.
Yeah, we did consider a playground. I guess the reason we went with the basketball court was it was a little bit more like multi-age appropriate. You can use it for more uses, multi-purpose. So that was kind of the rationale for why we chose the basketball court.
Okay.
You know, kids can still rip around on their scooters or bounce a ball, or yeah, that was the rationale there.
Okay, thanks. But yeah, that's all I have. Cheers.
Thank you.
Thanks, Harry. Hector?
Thanks, Madam Chair, and thanks to the presenter. Yeah, I think it's a very nice development. The landscape is very well thought. I think the idea of having, they say, fences or some sort of dividers between the units and the pads, it's a good idea. But I think overall it's great. So thank you so much.
Thanks.
Hector and Hillary?
Thank you. Yeah, really appreciate the project coming forward. This is definitely a needed form of housing. I think the 3-bedroom rental townhouse is something that we don't have much of, so that's really cool to see. And I think that the panel's made some great comments. So really anything I had would be doubled up by staff comments and panel comments so far. So yeah, thank you for bringing this forward. I was glad to see the trees that were retained. I think that's great, and looking forward to seeing this move forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Hillary. That's great. Yeah, really wonderful to see some family rental housing, 3-bedroom units. And it's a nice development. I drove through there too, and I didn't realize it had been built up there. And sort of suddenly there it was. Yeah, the only question I had about it was I was looking at, you have the industrial properties with the post office and now the food bank putting their new development in there. I didn't remember what kind of fencing you had, if you're adding more fencing between those. I think on the plan it says there's already fencing there.
So we are providing fencing along the north property line. We've proposed a 5-foot fence, and then also we're filling in the from the north property line a 4.68 meter planting buffer between the whole north lot and all of those all those blocks. Excuse me. So there's going to be a whole variety of shrubs growing against the backdrop of a fence to break up those two property uses. And also that's north facing, so I guess people are going to be looking out towards the Benson View mostly from their units, catching the sun.
Yeah, because like in you'll have some vehicles that'll, yeah, I don't think they'll be coming there at night much, but you're going to have, yeah, a fair amount of vehicle traffic.
Right.
Going in and out of those properties and that, yeah. So I don't know if you want to consider a taller fence than 5 feet, but especially along that back lawn, that back.
Yeah, we can. We're just
So
currently.
your plants take a while to grow too.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, we could have a good buffer there because it's not that attractive, and it'd be nice to have a good separation, but you're stuck with that. Yeah. And I agree with the extra parking. Actually, I think is a bonus because, yeah, Hanson Road's going to have a lot of traffic coming up and down there, and that's not really, I mean, people having to park their cars and then walk on the road and back up to the property is not ideal either. So yeah, anyway, I don't really have anything else to add besides that. It looks good, and I'm really glad you're not putting high rises in there, multi-family apartment buildings. I think this townhouse, the townhouse, additional townhouses is a much better project to add there. So great.
Thanks.
Anyway, let's have just look at our recommendations here. And again, we weren't looking at any variances.
No.
So, I'm not sure if Martha, you wanted to have consider adequate screening for block 24 from the visitor parking. You want to get that in as a recommendation?
No, that's okay. I think it's fine the way it is with the landscaping, as long as Jonathan has no issue with it.
Okay. And consider adding a bench on the pathway near the oak tree. Consider a different style of bike rack in the central park so it's not impeding access to the picnic table. Add a crosswalk at the path between unit 17 and 20. Consider adding some landscaping or fencing to create privacy between the individual patios. So 4 recommendations. Anything I missed, panel? Okay, so if we can have a motion to accept the proposal as presented with those recommendations. Okay, Harry, seconder Marta, all in favor? Great. Well, thank you for coming in today, Rosella, and good luck with the project. Looking forward to seeing it.
Okay, thanks a lot, everybody.
Okay, well, we did that in good time. We started early because we thought we might be really quite extended tonight. So anyway, good work, people, and lots of good comments. Really appreciate your effort here. So that's great. We have no other business, so if we can have a motion to adjourn. Hillary can't give a motion, so Angie and seconder Jonathan, all in favor? Yes. Okay, great. Thank you, and thank you to
Play part, because